right. Let's ride the Pine. Starting in government camp, like behind the Chevron, the Alpine Trail is the primary route Lifties at Timberline who hitchhike to work in the morning use to get back to their filthy dwellings back in town. Hitchhiking up to the lodge and then riding the Pine back to Govey is a time-honored winter tradition on Mount Hood. Now, with the advent of backcountry skis and tech bindings, climbing the Pine has become as popular, if not more so, than skiing down it. It's a nice way to get a couple thousand feet of climbing practice in without worrying about getting buried in an avalanche. Finding the bottom of this trail couldn't be easier. It's at the rest stop that doubles as the parking area for Summit Ski Area. Oh, by the way, Timberline just bought the Summit Ski Area. More on why that's important in a minute. While we're working our way up the hill to the left side of the Summit Ski Area, I'd like to encourage you to support this trail review project by navigating to patreon.com when you're done with this video. Now, when you get to this sign, keep going forward if you want to stay on the Alpine Trail. A lot of the trails behind Government Camp over here are actually part of a pretty decent and fun network of cross-country trails that all radiate off the Crosstown Trail. When you see this sign, stay to the right. Basically, you're climbing to the top of the Summit Ski Area. So as long as you can see the Summit Ski Area on your right, you're good. One of the nice things about this area is that it's almost always instantaneously tracked out the second it snows, so it's hard to actually get lost in here. If you're new to backcountry skis or you just don't feel like getting lost today, this place is ideal. See this ski lift on my right over there? That's the top of the Summit Ski Area. Now the Alpine Trail is almost impossible to miss. And here's the cool part about Timberline Lodge being the new owners of Summit Ski Area. Because it's theirs and the Alpine Trail connects Summit to Timberline Lodge, they now groom the Alpine Trail all the way up to the lodge. So not only is the avalanche danger minimal here, you get the added bonus of never having to break trail if you don't want to. This place just became an even easier sell than it already was. The first mile or so of the trail is flat enough that you won't need your risers, so you get a pretty darn easy warm-up as well. I can't think of a more ideal scenario for someone who's just looking for a low-key day on the skis. As you get closer to the lodge, the trail gets steeper, mostly because the mountain also gets steeper. Nothing surprising here, but this one section is actually relatively steep and there's some fun skiing in the margins on this section when you're on your way down. I encourage off-trail exploration through these woods because, well, it's fun. The neat thing about this area is you can kind of just wander around to your heart's content as long as you're watching out for the tree wells and other such hazards. This is my favorite kind of backcountry skiing, where I just get to poke around in the woods. It's like a little playground. This isn't exactly the kind of thing that gets hyped up in all the ad copy that you see about this sport, but I think it doesn't get emphasized enough how alpine touring skis with skins on are probably the most competent way to get around snowy woods on steep hillsides. You can get through and explore forests you would just never see during the summer because of the underbrush. You can traverse tight spaces that a snowmobile would never be able to get through, and you're able to climb steeper slopes and awkward side hills that would be a problem for cross-country skis and snowshoes. Maybe this fact isn't going to sell a lot of skis, but it's my favorite thing about this sport. Anyway, after exploring for a bit, I doubled back and reconnected with the Alpine Trail, which by now, quite a few more people were on it than when I had started. Another one of the cool things about this trail is that it joins up with the on-piste skiing at Timberline Lodge right about at the bottom of the Storm and Norman ski lift. Also, if the weather cooperates like it did the day I was skiing this, then eventually the mountain will break out of the clouds and you might be treated to a view like this. One of the plus sides of climbing up the side of Mount Hood is that it's often the higher elevations that break out of the clouds before the lower elevations. So enjoy the view. When I got to the bottom of Storm and Norman, I kept climbing through the resort up to the top of the Jeff Flood Express ski lift. But that's just because there's this little canyon to skiers left of the Storm and Norman ski lift that I like to ski through. It's just a fun little kind of natural slalom course that's had a special place in my heart for about 20 years now. And I figure since I was already up here, I might as well climb an extra 200 to 500 feet of elevation just so I could ride this fun little canyon. When it comes to skiing, it's almost always the familiar little treasures like this that I come back for. As far as descents go, the Alpine Trail is narrow and fast at the top. And speaking of narrow and fast, be careful on this last super steep section, but Also be smart. If you check all your speed here, then you're not going to have enough momentum for the flat section that's coming. If you're climbing up this section, try to be respectful if you can of those descending. And if it's possible, get out of their way because they're going to need to keep their speed up, especially if they're on a snowboard. Being able to snow skate will serve you well here if you're on skis. So this, I guess, is a great place to practice and get better at that. And pretty quickly, you'll find yourself politely descending through the summit ski area. It's not epic, it isn't impressive in any way, but if you're alone or it's socked in or it's in avalanche conditions everywhere else, this is the perfect place to still get some skiing in without having to dangle in the freezing wind on a ski lift and without worrying about getting lost in whiteout conditions. The Alpine Trail is just a basic, wholesome, good time. I'd like to take this moment to thank all my Patreon supporters, especially my Low Me Goodness level sponsors Andy Suery, Charles Kim, Damon Corey, Randy Relaford, and Ty Morgan Marbett. I'd also like to thank my Hero Dirt level sponsors earning this special mention at the end of this video: Bryce Ulrich, Heather Van Valkenburg, Jason Moore, and Pedro Cantarini. If you'd like to join these magnificent specimens of generosity and support this project, then navigate to patreon.com/voiceovertrails and pledge your support today. Now, get out there and go shred some POW.